So, an urn that says Bimbles holds a blue zombie cockatrice. Now that is oddly specific. Well, friend, I thank you for the distraction before he gets up and walks off into the Shadowdark. It's very mysterious. We don't know who this man is, but you should ask yourself those kind of questions. They drive the story forward or they end the story in some cases. And creating that tension is actually a really fun part of Solo World. Hey. Okay, so we are going to continue playing our Shadowdark session, and it's going to be using Junoor, who is the Elven Sailor. Picture of the mini we're using. It's more for theater of the mind stuff. I actually thought, maybe I'll put him in the dungeon this time so we can see where he is as he moves around. So we're going to start him off at the cells. And then a couple of bookkeeping things from last session. So it was brought to my attention that Ruhiel, our unfortunate elven cult initiate who aged and had kind of his life force drained out of him. So because he's an elf, then 60 years would not age him the same way. So one of the nice things about solo role playing is you can go back and you can retcon things. And so with Ruhiel, we're going to say that, his aging was a lot closer to something like, 4,000 years for an elf, which would make him a little bit more of that way that he turned out. The other thing with Ruhiel is if you look at his character sheet, if you'll remember, he had a strength that was very, very low. It was 4. And another part of the retcon, the strength of being 4 is due to that draining. Before then, it was, 10 or something. But now it's 4 because he's had that experience. Okay, so the other item of bookkeeping is today we also are going to be using this tool called the Ultimate Solo Role-Playing Toolkit, as I think is the name of the tool. And it is created by Silver Nightingale. And it's inspired and adapted from many sources across the OSR space. So this is a really cool tool. There's a couple of different versions of it, but it's all the same thing. It's a set of different tools and tables you can use. There's a delving flowchart, which is what we'll be using a lot of, and also these dungeon crawl rules that it has here for things to come across in the dungeon for you to see. Then I have a booklet version of it that I have printed off and made. And if you'd like to see how to make more zines, it's a little bit rough, but I have this video right here for making your own zines, looking a little bit more at the solo toolkit. I think that we will try using the Oracle here. Then yes, we've got action and theme tables, which are going to kind of replace what we've been checking in the SoloDark book. So we'll roll against those when we need to ask the Oracle an open-ended question. And we'll use these in case we need to roll for equipment, armor, and I think that will mix it up than just going purely off of what's in the Shadowdark rulebook. Solo role-playing it's kind of like playing with Legos. You can kind of build your system based on whatever tools you want to use, whatever supplements you want to use. And so in this case, I'm going to use the Solo Toolkit supplement in addition to SoloDark and the Shadowdark rules. I will put links in the description of the video below if you would like to get either. All right, so let's go and talk about who Junoor is. He is of elven ancestry. He is a sailor. His alignment is neutral. His deity is Ord, which is also a neutral deity. All he has is a grappling hook for some reason. And then his stats, he's fairly average. He's a little bit below average in strength and a little bit below average in charisma. But he has got high intelligence and he has average everything else. Okay, looking at his personality, he's belligerent, which kind of goes along with having a little bit lower charisma. I don't know if you've ever met somebody who's very argumentative, but sometimes it's hard to get along with them. Yes, belligerent personality. He's a sailor. He's an elf. Again, we're going to account for that. I don't know the exact lifespans of elves, but we'll say that, he's in his 60s or 70s, which is relatively young for an elf. So he's like a young adult. Maybe he's like an angsty, slightly older than a teenager, just like a 20-something if you were going in human years. And yeah, since he is level 0, he's only got 1 HP. And so that's something we're going to have to account for as we go through this dungeon. Pretty much anything that's going to damage us will kill us. So let's make sure that doesn't happen if we can help it. So the last thing is, this is going to be something that I make a call on. And it's something that, you can approach it any way that you want when you solo roleplay, but I don't want to repeat these sections of the dungeon for you because those sections have already happened in the video Ruhiel's story, which is right here if you want to watch it. Out of just not repeating ourselves, I think we're going to make an assumption that nothing really happens to the characters as they follow through in already explored parts of the dungeon. And then yes, we will primarily be focusing on the dungeon delve tool and the delving flowchart here. All right, so let's get this party started. Should we start right when Ruhiel collapsed, going to Junoor's perspective, or should we jump time forward a little bit? Let's do an oracle roll with that. So has time passed since the end of our last episode? And we're gonna roll with the d6. Got a 4, yes. So we got a 4, which is yes, but. So time has passed, but not much time has passed. So maybe it's only been like, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Let's just roll like a d4 and base that against the number of hours. Okay, so 4 hours have passed since Ruhiel collapsed. Junoor's cage is being opened by Evelyn, who is the halfling warden who has a pet basilisk. So she's opening it up. Ruhiel at this point, has Ruhiel come to or not? Oops, wanna roll that one? We're gonna roll that. So we got a 5, which is yes. So he has come to. And Ruhiel, it's been realized, we'll say, that Ruhiel, the old man that stumbled in here and collapsed, is actually the same elf initiate. He was wearing the same clothing, has the same kind of equipment, just, much more drained. And so my assumption here is going to be that Ruhiel speaks up a little bit, and he's shared some of this information, which is why Junoor going down to the dungeon will know that he should, avoid the crushing room. He should watch out for the gas if he holds his torch up to these tusks. And also there are ghouls here, and also something worse. There's like a revenant or a spirit that will come out and get him if he goes up into this room with all the chains. And also the guardian. I think he sums it up in such a way that, Junoor is able to take those with him. And so it's time for Junoor to go down into the dungeon. And Evelyn kind of says the same spiel that she said to Ruhiel, here's one torch, and you have an hour to find this scroll down there, and then get back up if you want to save your own life. And so Junoor has now gone down to the dungeon. And I'm just going to randomize to what direction he heads. So we'll just say on a 1, 2, or 3, he comes down south in this passage, or on a 4, 5, or 6, he's back at the room with the teeth. Okay, he's made his way and he's come to the room with the teeth. And so now again, the question is, since Ruhiel never made it past the teeth, Junoor still has to figure out a way to make it past the teeth. We'll write down that Junoor has a torch, and we'll assume that 3 lengths of his torch have ticked down. Okay, so if I'm Junoor and I'm in this room that looks like it's alive, and it's almost like the room is kind of breathing and it's got these tusk things, I think that Junoor is going to, he knows not to hold his torch out to the tusks. In fact, he's keeping his torch like aloft in the air. But I do think that he wants to test the waters a little bit, and he wants to he wants to see if there's a stone or something nearby. Is there a stone or something nearby that he can use to, no, there's not a stone nearby. And the only thing that he has at this time is his grappling hook, which he can toss out. Doesn't even have rope on it. It's just a hook. It's like an anchor. He thinks about, since he's a sailor, right? He thinks about his anchor from his ship as he just hucks this thing out in the middle of the room. So he does that. And do the spikes or the tusks react to that? 3, no. But so the tusks don't react to this anchor falling and hitting them, but he does hear a noise, and it's coming from outside of this room, from beyond. And we're going to find out what the noise sounds like based on another roll. So it says here for action and theme tables, we roll 2d4 plus 2d12, and then we will compare. We'll say green is top, blue is bottom. Okay, so we got 3 and 3. So rally, and then on the bottom we got 3 and 4, which is loyalty. So rally loyalty is what we got there. So here's a noise that sounds like rally loyalty. So the first thing that comes to mind, I'm going to go with it, and he hears a noise from beyond that sounds oddly a lot like cheering, and he's not sure what the cheering is, other than there's somebody cheering somebody else on. And are these noises human-like in nature, or are they perhaps something else? So we got a 1. No, they're not human-like in nature. And in fact, they are noises that are, otherworldly. They're noises that this cheering is it's something that he probably needs to be on the lookout for when he finds the source of it, because it sounds like it's something that could possibly be very, very dangerous to him. Okay, so because the grappling hook banged up and hit the tusks and it didn't affect the tusks, then Junoor concludes that he can just move through this room without the tusks, reacting to him. And so he walks forward and he picks up his anchor and he proceeds into the next room. Okay, so for the next room, we're going to actually consult our delving flowchart. So we will roll to see, does he enter a chamber or does he enter a passage? Okay, it's a passage. And so we're going to roll for our passage, and we got a winding passage. So we'll kind of just draw this out with like a winding amount to it. Okay, and then at the end of the passage, what do we see? We go to a lower level. So the passage winds and goes down. And when we get to the bottom of the passage, we'll tick off some torch for that. We come to a chamber. All right, so we got a 1, that's a chamber. And then we're gonna roll again to see its shape. So it's a 3, so this is a circular chamber. And inside this chamber for area contents. And now we're gonna roll 2 dice. We're gonna take the worst result since we're saying this is a gauntlet, and rolling with disadvantage in this type of thing ends up giving us 6 and a 4. So either a feature or a small encounter. Yeah, I'm gonna say a small encounter is the more dangerous of the 2 options, because it looks like the features, some of them are dangerous. And we're still going to use the Shadowdark book for the small encounter. So just kind of draw out a round chamber here, and we'll roll to see with this die what the, okay, there's only one way through the chamber, right? So there's one opposite way out of the chamber. Let's roll to see what the small encounter is using the Shadowdark rulebook. So what's really cool about the Shadowdark rulebook is you have all these D100 encounter tables. And so the one here that we could use is we could either use Tomb, which is what we used last time, or we could use Underground Tunnel, which is something that we haven't used yet. And so you know what? I'm just going to roll off to see which one I should roll on. On 1, 2, or 3, it's Tunnel. On a 4, 5, or 6, it is the Tomb. Okay, so it's the Tomb. So we'll roll to see what we get. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to go with the first thing that feels like it could be a small encounter. So if for some reason it seems like a huge encounter, then we will just re-roll and go with it again. So 86. So an urn that says Bimbles holds a blue zombie cockatrice. An urn that says Bimbles holds a blue zombie cockatrice. Now that is oddly specific, and I feel like that could potentially be a smallish encounter. So as Junoor walks into this chamber, he sees an urn, and it has the word Bimbles written on it. There's the blue zombie cockatrice. So I guess we need to find out a little bit more about this blue zombie cockatrice, like what it entails. And so I'm going to go to monster statistics and look up the cockatrice right now. A molting lizard chicken hybrid with a crimson razor-like crest. And I think that's a picture of our cockatrice. And it's a zombie. So it's a level 3 monster. Pretty dangerous. Can petrify. Its alignment is neutral. It is a zombie. Okay. So does Junoor spot this thing before it spots Junoor as he's entering into this chamber? Does Junoor spot the zombie cockatrice? 4. That's yes, but okay. So Junoor sees this urn and the cockatrice, but he sees somebody or something else in there. It's not just an urn in here with Bimbles, the zombie cockatrice. Which, by the way, sounds like Bimbles might be some kind of a reference to an inside joke. It might be interesting to look that up in the future and see who is Bimbles, why is there a blue zombie cockatrice with this name. So let's find out, and we'll roll again on these oracle tables. What is in there with Bimbles? If I can find the right dice to roll. Okay, again, green's top, blue is bottom. So we got a 2 and 1, so dominate. We got a 2 and a 3, legacy. Dominate legacy. All right, so I'm thinking here, and I'm kind of just riffing on my own thoughts. You know, Bimbles is obviously in an urn with its name, which means it was the pet of somebody at some point in the past. And so it has a history there, or a legacy. And there's something there that is trying to control that. is trying to, dominate that. So it makes me think that there's something there actually messing with Bimbles, the zombie cockatrice. So I'm going to say it's probably either a humanoid or an NPC. The cheering we heard that was inhuman cheering, it could be coming from this entity that's messing with Bimbles. So let's roll to figure out what that entity is. Okay, so I wasn't sure what to roll on here, and I kind of just decided to roll on something happens. I rolled a 13, which is a man slips a note and an odd potion into your hand. In this case, we're going to say that there's a man there, and he's messing with this zombie cockatrice, and he's got this potion that he's dumping on it, and it's brought the corpse of Bimbles to life. And so is Bimbles happy about being brought back to life? And I'm guessing the answer is no. So what we'll do is we'll actually roll 2d6 with disadvantage on this. So we're more likely, we'll take the lowest result. We're more likely to get a no, but not always. So we got a 2 and a 1. So we're going to take the lower, which is no. And so Bimbles is not happy about it, and it's coming to life, and it's trying to attack the man. And Junoor sees all this happening. What does the man look like? The man is messing with Bimbles. We will use the NPC generator for this toolkit. So we're going to roll a couple of d12, 12 and 7. So he's youthful, and he's grizzled, which is kind of a weird combination. Normally grizzled are not youthful, but he's grizzled and youthful. And then let's roll a motivation with green first again, 3 and 8. So he's a scholar. Okay, and 8. His motivation is duty. So there's a scholarly man who's young but grizzled, and he's pouring a potion on a blue zombie cockatrice, and he's brought it back to life. And he's motivated by duty, so he's supposed to be doing this. So we don't know all the questions yet. Let's take it from Junoor's point of view. He kind of sees that this guy is wearing, these kind of brownish robes of a scholar. Maybe he's from the city of King Tower, and there's King Tower right there, if you can see that on the map. And I guess that he's doing an experiment or something. And Evelyn didn't inform anybody of this, so he didn't know he'd run into somebody down here doing this. And this cockatrice is getting agitated and sort of being aggressive, maybe snapping its maw or its beak at the man. And is this phasing him at all? Let's roll on the table here for the Oracle. 5. Yeah, so it's kind of bothering him. He's having to fend it off. He's trying to push it backwards. All right. And Junoor, how does Junoor want to respond to all of this? Has the man noticed Junoor? Let's ask that question, because we had concluded that the cockatrice hadn't. But has the man noticed Junoor? For yes. But he sees him, but he's also occupied trying to push this thing away as it's, coming at him. And so I guess Junoor at this point needs to decide, is he going to help this man, or is he going to try to just go around it all and keep going? Or is he going to just double back and take off out of there? I think those are his options. Is there anything else in this room that Junoor notices? 6. Yes. And okay, so there's something else in this room. What else is in this room? You know what? We rolled the feature last time, right? We rolled the feature now. And again, this is the Shadowdark, so it's a little bit inhuman. It's not so much man-made, but there could be some natural, or there could be ruins in this case. It's a hodgepodge. So let's say 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6 to roll on one of those tables. So 5. So we're down on the natural features. So let's just roll twice, and we'll take the worst result in style of our gauntlet. And this could make things weird, potentially. We'll see. Gravity anomaly or unstable rock pillars. I think unstable rock pillars is probably the more dangerous of the two. I mean, the gravity anomaly could be really dangerous, but we have no idea. Okay, we're gonna go with the unstable rock pillars. It makes a little bit more sense. So with this room, there are, let's say, 4 these unstable rock pillars. Then there's this urn in the middle with this guy who is, struggling or whatever with his cockatrice. So I think that Junoor is going to try to help this guy. despite Junoor being belligerent and not happy about being there, he does realize that, any potential ally could be the difference between life and death in this dungeon. So he is going to make his way in a way that does not alert the cockatrice. The zombie cockatrice is currently occupied with this man. And he's going to go through, and I think that he is going to see if there is a way that he could potentially... I'd like to take advantage of these. If he can collapse one of these pillars in a way that is going to maybe land on the cockatrice, I just hope that, I think he's trying to act quickly, but, obviously he doesn't want it to land on himself if he can help it, but we'll see what happens. The other option would be for Junoor to go up behind this thing and, club it with his grappling hook, but I think the grappling hook's only going to do, like a d6 damage or whatever, whereas I think that a falling stone has the potential to do a lot more damage to this thing. In fact, I was reading the Shadowdark rulebook earlier, and they talked about, falling rock traps or whatever. I think they'll 3d6 or 3d10 or something like that, so it can do a lot more damage to this thing. So let's do that. Okay, so I think we're just going to ask the question this way. Does Junoor's plan work? He's going to kick at the column, the loose column of stone. Does it drop rocks from the ceiling? I think that before he does that, he will kind of point up at the ceiling and show it, try to motion to the other guy and see if he gets his attention. All right. So yes, does Junoor's plan work? Okay. No! Junoor's plan does not work. All right, so the rocks, he kicks the thing. Let's see here. Let's assume this thing is loose enough that it does break and rocks start to fall. All right, I have to ask the question. It's comedic. It might make for a very short video, but hey, if it happens, it happens. Do the rocks fall and hit Junoor instead of the cockatrice? Yes. Oh man. Okay. Real quick. Okay. And this is why sometimes you just have to kind of laugh at what happens. And if you're disappointed watching this and you're like, dude, you got one room in and he died. I'm like, well, that's what happens when you play a funnel. They sometimes are comedic in their savagery. So let's look at the damage here to Junoor just to humor ourselves with the trap section. Please let me know in the comments what your initial reaction is or whatever when you find out that Junoor is pretty much dead from this. Is your comment why did I watch this? Or are you okay, yeah, that happens. Okay, so a falling block is the one I'm looking at. A falling block damager effect is 3d10 unconscious. So yes. Does he get the full brunt or does he get out of the way? Let's do that with a dexterity save. So if he gets a dexterity save, let's say it's difficult. So 15 with no modifiers. So he's got, very low chance here, but there is a chance that he might just, somehow get a lesser result, which is knocked out. So we'll see. Okay. Let's roll. We got a 17. Look at that. 17. So, Junoor realizes these rocks are falling down towards him, likely going to kill him. Jumps out of the way, but not quite enough, and he still gets clipped by something. And we will do, this may have killed him. We're going to ask one more time to the Oracle, does he take any damage from this rock? And because he made his save, we won't do it with disadvantage. I don't think we'll do it with advantage either, though. I think we'll just keep it straight. Okay, so this will decide it. Does Junoor take damage from this falling rock? Okay, well, yes. Yes, but. Yes, he takes damage from the rock, and he's only got 1 health, so he is dead. For sure dead. But his death is not in vain. The cockatrice notices it, and it captures enough the attention of the cockatrice that the man is able to complete what he was trying to do with the cockatrice. This mysterious scholar was able to complete what he was trying to do with the cockatrice. And what was he trying to do with the cockatrice? let's determine that real quick. First, we have a 4 and a 10. So he was trying to attack. 4 and 10, attack. 1 and 9. Weakness. Okay, so he was trying to attack the weakness of this cockatrice. And so I think he does it. I think that he gets this potion poured out onto the cockatrice, and it's enough to, yeah, so this zombie cockatrice just basically crumbles to dust from the effects of this potion that was poured onto like a weak point on its body. And so Bimbles, the cockatrice, is no more. And the man scoops up the ashes, of Bimbles that are in this urn and puts it into a pouch. And he kind of looks over at the poor body of Junoor and says, "Well, friend, I thank you for the distraction," before he gets up and walks off into the Shadowdark. It's very mysterious. We don't know who this man is or what. This is a shorter one. And again, I'd love to hear your comments or thoughts. I'm going with the Oracle tables, and it's okay to give it a chance. If you're like, are they really dead? It's okay. You can ask that question. But you should ask yourself those kind of questions they drive the story forward or they end the story in some cases. And creating that tension is actually a really fun part of solo role-playing. And in my other longer form solo role-playing game, Scarlet Heroes, that I'm playing, then I have a dwarf named Burgar. I've mentioned him on a different episode in a different video, which is probably up there somewhere. So he's had a couple of really close calls, and those parts have been like really rife with tension because I feel really, really attached to Burgar. I don't want him to die as a character. I really want to find out what happens in his story. So just something to think about. All right, let's roll off to see who will be our next hero that we use. On a 1, 2, or 3, it will be Wolf. On a 4, 5, or 6, it will be Tamra. Okay, so our next hero for the 3rd episode of this little mini series thing is going to be Wolf, the Acolyte, who is chaotic. And we will see how he fares in this very deadly gauntlet, the Secret Pits. Thanks for watching. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe. You're going to get more of it. And feel free to share it if you have any friends that you want to show them, hey, here's an example of a way that you can solo roleplay. I hope these videos are showing you that it is very freeform, and it's really up to you to kind of dictate the way that the story progresses and the tools that you use and the questions that you ask. Like, you are in control of a lot of this, but in a very kind of like weirdly interesting way where you don't get to control like the results of everything. You just kind of get to shape it as it goes forward. So I hope that that's coming across to you. So we'll see you for the next one when we do Wolf's story.